Welcome, everybody, to the first installment of this new LemonLight podcast. I am Cellochicita, and I'm joined here by MyNameIsJ.
Yeah, that is my name.
That is your name. Your name is Jay.
Yeah, but it's not. But
yeah. So, and we're here to bring you this podcast. We've had a lot of thoughts for quite a while about wanting to do a podcast about the behind the scenes of LemonLight, kind of how it came to be, what the process of production kind of is in LemonLight. And as I was talking with my good friend Jay here, we decided that this would probably be a really good time to do it because Night in the Woods, the musical, is wrapping up. And so we have a lot of good, I guess, introspection to talk about with the production of Night in the Woods. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Jay, why don't you introduce yourself for those who may not know you? I think that would be shocking by now if people don't know who
that
you
would be
are
really
around
funny.
here.
I mean, to be fair, I don't feature on the channel much. But either way, I am Jay, and my name is Jay. That is my username. It wasn't always my username, but it is now.
Yep.
I started LemonLight. Well, technically it was me and Cello, but I started the idea, and I am God above all in the server. But
You are
that is not relevant.
glorious and illustrious director. Yeah.
Those are words.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm Jay. I'm the director of LemonLight. I'm pretty much I'd say director, but I'm not really. Jess does most of the directing. I'm pretty much like the manager or the head.
Yeah, you're the head of LemonLight.
The head of LemonLight. But yes, that is me.
You do direct. You direct all of the. You're the project manager.
Yeah, so manager is a better term.
Would be your official corporate speak job title, I guess.
Yeah.
But
by name I am director, but in my soul I am a manager.
Yes. That's fair. I am not that important. I was the one who came and wanted to do this project. But something that is worth saying and why we are talking about this episode, I wanted to start this episode out and this podcast out talking about how a project gets started, because projects don't just happen. They don't just one day there's nothing and then all of a sudden poof, you have a YouTube channel and you've got a cast and you've got workout. There's a lot of steps that happen before that, and I don't know. We should probably just jump in and start talking about how LemonLight got started, because we were both there for the beginning of it, or rather, you were there because it was in your head, and I was helped
along. You think
I'm
in my head?
I think I was in your head.
I don't know what happens up there.
So, yeah, if you want to just start and tell us how a brief how LemonLight came to be, or what inspired you to want to start a group like this, and kind of how it went down, and yeah.
Well, I won't lie, and I will say it was definitely at least partly inspired by Undertale the musical.
Yeah.
that has to be obvious.
Mm-hmm.
But after the inspiration, well, we were part of when the idea originated. We were part of the Man on the Internet Undertale the musical fan community.
Yeah.
Quite small at the time, because this was 4 years ago and a bit.
Oh gosh, yeah. Yeah, 4
but
years
so
ago.
it was it was us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And
that's
and
where
I,
the idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where the idea kind of began. Well, it began in my head, and then I shared it onto that group thing, and then that's where we got auditions, and then it led into a casting call, and we got more auditions, and then the whole Discord setup thing, and became a Discord server, and then the project started.
Yep.
But that is the base start of it, getting casting on Casting Call Club, which most people don't know about Casting Call Club, I've learned.
Which is
but it's a very
shame.
Good. Yeah, it's very good for getting into projects and starting projects, which is where we started Undertale Genocide the Musical, and by extension, LemonLight Productions.
Yes. So definitely from my point of view of things, it was very interesting, because like you said, we were in the Man on the Internet community as Undertale the musical was happening, and I think there was a big sense from a lot of people being this is really cool, I want to be a part of it. But obviously they had a full cast and they did a great job, but it was just
yeah,
that desire to want to do something. So when you came to me and you were hey, I want to do a genocide musical, I think we both were just kind of like jumped into it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we're just like really excited to do a thing. I don't know. It was.
We had no idea what we were
Oh,
doing.
it was such a mess. It was so bad. Like, well, I distinctly remember the fact that you were like, "Okay, I want to do a musical. I don't sing at all," and I was like,
I didn't even know what the difference between a soprano and an alto and a tenor or a bass was at the
and
time.
I was like, "I got you. I got you. I will do like all of the singing," which was a mistake because I'm not that good or that talented. But like, I don't know. There
well,
was
you are, but
not at that, but it was just a case of like this was so LemonLight started. Well, I guess in your head it started 2017, 4 years ago.
Yeah, like February 2017. Because
yes.
I distinctly remember my birthday's in February, and I distinctly remember having it just before my birthday because I say I was 15 when I started the project, and then 16 when it actually happened.
Oh, that's fair. That makes sense.
But yeah, February 2017 was when the idea happened. Because I think that was when Undertale the Musical was wrapping up its songs as well.
Yeah.
So I was like, hey, I want more of this. I'm going to make more of this.
Yeah, because like Undertale the Musical ended, I think, summer of 2017, of that year, if I recall.
Yeah.
But...
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was just starting... What gave you the motivation to like actually go ahead and do it? Like, obviously you'd never done anything like this before. What kept it from just being like a brain project, and what actually got the wheels in motion? Because I know for me personally, I have my own YouTube channel, and I have now directed like a project of my own. I know it's really easy to get a lot of just like ideas in your head. It's like, oh, this would be fun to do, and then you never like take the steps to go forward with it. What kind of like, and this kind of in the sense of Night in the Woods, the musical, too. Like, what takes a project from being like in your head to like out into the world, sort of thing? What's the motivation or inspiration for that?
Yeah. Well, in terms of Undertale Genocide the Musical, it was because Undertale the Musical was and is something that's like still very special to me, and especially at the time, because of various reasons. But when it was ending, I was like, I pretty much thought, hey, I would like more of this. Oh, wait, I could make more of this. And again, I won't lie, and I will say that lots of like advice on streams and stuff came from Man on the Internet. Not all of it, because obviously other sources. But there was lots of like setting up advice. So we were instructed, but by Man on the Internet, I mean like the crew, not just the man.
They did a lot of They did a lot of streams around that time. They got a lot of questions about starting projects. I remember, yeah.
Especially, we got advice especially from Laura a lot. I remember that.
Yes.
Shout out to Laura and
we
Lorelai.
love you.
But yeah, so we got advice from those kind of streams and stuff. So then that's what triggered the spark in my brain. It was like, hey, this is actually something you could do. Because Alex talked a lot about like starting the project up from nothing and then bringing people in and then working on it, and I was like, oh wait, it's a lot easier than I expect. Like, so I guess before I'd assumed that you need like a huge budget to pay lots of people and a huge budget to get lots of like sound engineers, and then you realize people are willing to a certain extent to do things like for free, volunteer wise, for like, experience and to just be involved. So it's that spark that was like, this is actually a feasible possibility that you could do. So then I just knuckled down and started working on it. It was like, hey, I want to do this. I'm going to write the songs. And then Cello was like, cool. And I was like, I can't record them. And Cello was like, cool, I can record them. The scratch tracks.
I'm in the middle of like finals and I'm sick, but I can do it. So yeah, but yeah.
And yeah, from there, well, that's the base like start of the first project. And then obviously we had about a year and a half of experience working through Undertale Genocide the Musical, and it was a very rocky start, especially.
It was not easy. I think.
But by the time we finished,
I think there were probably about 2 or 3 times. Sorry, I keep talking about.
Okay.
I think there were probably about 2 or 3 times in the beginning where I was just like, "This isn't gonna finish. LemonLight's gonna fall apart." It was fun while it lasted, kind of deal. But yeah, it stuck with it, and we're here. So.
I'm pretty sure that was a thought on everyone's mind.
Probably
right at the start.
But everyone,
or at least
is
most
like
people,
is awesome and stuck with it and are still here. And like there's still a lot of people in LemonLight who've been here with us since the very beginning. And
yeah.
I don't know, LemonLight wouldn't be what it is without the people that made it what it is. So I'm
Very
sappy.
true.
It's fine. It's whatever.
But yeah, so we had like that experience of Undertale Genocide the Musical and working on that, and then we got the experience of like managing and directing and the process. So, and by the time Night in the Woods musical came around, I had just watched a Let's Play of the game and then played it, and I was like, "Hey, this could really work." So it wasn't the same as Undertale Genocide the Musical, which was like, "Hey, this is a project I could do. I'm gonna just knuckle down and do it." It was more like, "Hey, we've learned a lot from Undertale Genocide, and now it's time to move on to things that we could produce at a higher quality." And so it was pretty much just like, hey, use the stuff you've learned, and we can start again with a new project. And then we did.
Right. Yeah, no, I recall like at the time there was a lot of Undertale burnout among
Definitely.
everyone. Everyone was just like, okay, and I don't know, that kind of happens when you've been working on like a certain project for so long. You're just like, I want to work on literally anything else that isn't this.
Yeah, also that's why the full musical wasn't finished and probably never will be.
Yeah, but I mean, we've also just moved so far past that. Like, you don't want the full musical. Like, you say you do, you don't. Like, not to, trash your writing or like plotting abilities at 15 and 20 or 16 and 20 respectively, but you don't want to see that.
I mean, if we made the musical now without redoing the songs, the in-between dialogue bits would be a lot higher quality than the actual songs.
Yeah, it would just be weird. Everyone would be like, what is this? And it would just be bad. But
but either way.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember like what like was the first thing that got you to think of Night in the Woods as a full musical? Cuz like obviously Night in the Woods is a very long game and there's a lot going on, and so and the musical ended up being so many songs. Was it just a case of maybe you were like, I wrote a couple song covers and then you were like, I can't stop and like I shouldn't stop, or did it kind of just come into your head as like a full thing?
Yeah, I think it just came into it was more just like I fell in love with the game, and it was at the right time because we were wrapping up Undertale, and I fell in love with the music, especially of the game. And there isn't a huge cast of characters, and despite like the more open world kind ofness of Night in the Woods compared to Undertale, like Undertale's very linear. Night in the Woods is still kind of linear, so I thought about it, and I loved the game, and I thought the structure would work, the music would work, we'd have like enough of the cast for characters, and then we could bring more people in as well. And so it was a combined love of the game and the feasibility of it actually being possible to start Night in the Woods.
Yeah. Okay, I don't know if this is just me, and we might get to this later when we talk about. There's going to be another episode where we'll talk specifically about casting.
Yeah.
But I think a good chunk of me starting projects is I'll be playing a game or something, and I can hear like people that I know's
any
voices.
Of the LemonLight cast.
And so like I do that every time I play a game now. I'm like casting in my head as I go along. Like I've been playing Amori on my own channel and I've been streaming it, but like as I've been doing that, I'm sitting here, I'm like, okay, so Aubrey is Riley and Sweetheart is Mel and I will voice like, and that's just how I do it. Was there any sort of sense of that for Night in the Woods, or did you just kind of like you just figured that there would be enough?
Definitely.
Yeah.
There were definitely, I'm not going to say which characters or which people, but there were definitely characters that I already had in mind that I would like to be played by certain people. It wasn't set in stone, so it wasn't like if you auditioned for this character, you had no chance anyway.
Right.
But there were definitely characters that I wanted to have been played by certain people already, even before casting.
Yeah.
And I just hoped that they would, like, I didn't approach them about it, I just hoped that they would audition.
Right. Well,
yeah,
I mean,
that's definitely a thing.
You have a specific sound in your head for kind of what you think people sound like as you're playing a game, and you're like, oh, that sounds probably like this character would probably be real, or this person I know would have a really good voice for it. So
yeah,
I don't know, it just helps build the vision I
Even
guess.
more so with the indie collection, but we won't talk about that one yet.
Yeah, because it's not out yet. What, like, I mean, and I guess we could talk briefly about the inception of the indie, like, collection, because
We
it is
could.
it is obviously it's different in format than
Definitely.
anything that than anything that LemonLight has done in the past, because LemonLight's done, 2 full musicals, quote unquote, or we've just focused on like
Well, the songs.
2 full games, and then
Yes.
like what kind of was the catalyst to get indie to be like a collection like that? What started kind of the indie project happening like that? What's that story?
Well, basically,
If you can say without spoiling things, that's the important thing.
I'm just trying to figure out how to phrase it.
Yeah.
As well as some of the indie games, like Doki Doki Literature Club, for example, are quite not short, but
There's-
it's the same thing over and over again.
I mean,
and
part
in
of
different ways.
Doki Doki Literature Club is that it has a really limited small soundtrack too.
Yeah, too. Yeah. So for some of the indie games, I think it was that I loved the games so much, but they wouldn't work as full musicals.
Right.
So I was like, hey, what if we combine them? And that started with a certain game that was cut from the package eventually.
Yes.
But then we got others and combined them.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, I think we had about 4 that I was like, hey, these would work together. Or these wouldn't work on their own, but let's throw them together. And then other people were like, what about this game? What about this game? And then it ended up being the 8 that we have.
Cello came in and was like, "You forgot one shot. I will
forgot one
write
shot.
one shot." Yeah, because
You forgot One Shot Lovania.
One Shot Lovania. Oh my gosh.
Nico Lovania.
Wasn't it? I seem to recall. I don't know if this is like under wraps information. There were kind of thoughts or plans to do a Stardew Valley musical at one point, and that was something
Not
that
at
got tossed around.
LemonLight.
Not at LemonLight. Okay.
That was something Riley had decided to do.
Right.
But then she decided against it, and we are using a couple of the songs that she wrote for her musical
I do
in
remember
the
that,
collection.
Yeah. I there was like, if I recall, there was a lot of that going on with like the writing of indie, where it just kind of and obviously it was very different because you opened up a lot of writing and kind of creating
Oh yeah.
stuff as it went along to more people. I mean, even just from like Undertale the musical, because Undertale the musical was just you. I think.
Well, Undertale Genocide the musical.
Yeah, sorry, my bad. Undertale Genocide the musical.
Just in case.
Thank you. The Undertale stuff was you. I like maybe wrote a song. I don't recall.
I wrote all the.
You wrote all of the stuff.
First draft. You wrote Once Upon a Time.
I did write Once Upon a Time. That's
but
right.
Apart from that, I think I wrote all of the first stuff, and then some of it was improved by other people, but it was mostly me.
But it was mostly you, and then by that, so it was basically you. You had the idea, you decided what songs to do, and then by like Night in the Woods, it kind of just expanded a little further, where you brought in other people to help with the writing.
You and Riley and
there's a lot of lyric writers,
Mel.
And we'll also get to that like more specifically in another like podcast. I think the next one we'll talk about lyric writing and writing of stuff more. But then like by like indie, it just you like fully opened it up. How, I don't know, was that hard to like open that up to a bunch of other people, or did you still feel like pretty in control of what was going down in a project or something? Because I'm a control freak and I need to get better at it, like in my own stuff, delegating stuff. But how was that helpful? Was that hard? How was that to open it up to more people into the process?
It was definitely very welcome. I think I used to be a control freak. Especially with, I remember at the very start of Undertale, there was a lot of, you can't do this. Well, not in that sense, but like, I remember people made like a comic dub without like putting it by me first. And that was very much, oh, I'm not putting this on the channel. But I think, because I was very like, I'm spearheading the projects. So I approve what goes on the channel. But now, I mean, I still am the one who approves what goes on the channel. But I'm very... Well, my thoughts aren't cohesive. I'm very sorry. I talk very fast and very disorganized, but yeah,
it's kind of.
I'm very happy.
You've let go of LemonLight being like your personal channel, and
Yeah.
being like a big group thing that everyone can kind of bring stuff to the table. I guess.
Yeah. I mean, when you work on a project that has 8 different games, you're gonna have a project that has 8 different styles.
Yeah.
So
well, and you're
I think that was
yeah, you're not going to know everything about every game either.
yeah. So I think it was actually the natural progression to bring more people in
Mm-hmm.
and have more people work on the conception of the songs. Because I mean, I did have control still. I gave like briefs of, okay, you should have this many songs. I would recommend focusing on these parts of the games, especially for the games that I knew.
Right.
But and yeah, so I still had that control, but I was very happy to bring more people in because, like you said, they would have been more experts on the other games, and I just honestly, it also stops like burnout, especially for me, because
Mm-hmm.
the indie collection has, I can't remember off the top of my head, but like 40 songs ish.
Right, which is
writing
about
that many on your own. Yeah.
Well, because Night in the Woods is about that many songs, isn't it?
45,
like,
but it had 47 at the start. 2 of them were cut.
Which ones were? I don't remember which ones were cut.
There was one
was it
the cult.
Okay. Yes.
And
yeah.
Skycat.
We were doing a hole at the center of everything. I remember that.
Yeah.
And then we decided that no, this one would probably just be better. I don't know.
Yeah.
As something else.
But
yeah,
no.
yeah.
So
I totally
almost
forgot.
50 songs for Night in the Woods.
Yeah.
But even then, they weren't all me. There was the Astral ones especially were. I had no involvement in the writing for the Astral ones.
Yes. Yeah. And I am very excited to, in the next episode, talk about the Astral songs and the lyric writing because I think it's it's a cool story. But
yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I mean, and it's really good that like at LemonLight we have so many people that are willing to kind of just like step up and that have those skills that you were like, hey, I need like help with lyric writing, and you have like 5-6 people who are like, I will help you with lyric writing, and like they're all really good too. That's the other thing.
Yeah.
Like
by the time this podcast comes out, Celeste and Cuphead will both have been done.
Yes.
And at the time recording this, Insight, Cuphead has only just started being done, so that shows you how far back we're recording this.
Yes.
But, so, as you can see in the songs that are already out, there's already been me, Riley, Jess, and Tobin have already contributed to the lyrics from Celeste and Cuphead. So that already shows you the variety of people that are helping and willing to help, and there's a lot more later down the line.
Oh, yeah. There's, so many people. Because I'm trying to think. I can't even count how many people just like lyric writers we have that did stuff for for the indie collection even specifically. I know for like Night in the Woods there's probably about 5, 6.
Yeah, there was me, you, Riley, Donna helped with the Astral songs.
Donna
and Mel. And Jess helped with a couple.
Yeah. So there's Tex.
And Tex, yeah.
Yeah.
So Tex, that's like 7 or 8.
Oh, there's like so many people compared to the like 2 that
to Genocide.
That wrote Genocide, and even then it was mostly you. So
yeah,
but it just
that's why I think it was a
natural
natural progression to have more people in indie.
Yeah, and like you said, the burnout is a definite factor. As like as you know, people get older. When you started this, you were a teenager, and you were just like in I don't know, not in high school or the British equivalent.
Yeah, high school.
But like, and I was like single and in college, but like now we're to the point now where you're like at university. I just graduated college, but like I'm married, I have a life, and I'm trying to find a job. I know it's weird, and I feel old, but it's life moves on, life gets crazy, and all of a sudden you can't dedicate all the time and energy you have to a YouTube project. Like even though it's like the best thing, like I love LemonLight, and I will continue to like put a bunch of time and effort into it, but it's like it's not your only obligation anymore. So it helps to spread out the work a little bit more on it.
Yeah, I think it also improves quality as well.
Definitely.
Because burnout is a factor when you're writing 40 plus songs, but also quality decreases, I'd say, as well. Because you're just trying to get them done. Like I remember with Genocide, for example, it got to a point where I was writing like 3 or 4 songs a day. And you can, if you compare that with songs I write now, so let's say First Steps from Celeste, for example, you can definitely see the quality decrease, like in Undertale. And I think that was also because I've learnt more, but it definitely was because I was writing a lot at the time.
Yeah, no, and it definitely helps to get more minds going and more eyes you get on it. Some people are like, okay,
Yeah.
like one thing that you'd be like, this is fine, and someone else is like, well, like it could be better. Why don't you try like this instead? And you're like, oh, I never thought about that. And yeah, so it's definitely true that it helps bring up the quality because you have different minds working on things differently. I don't know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
the biggest, I don't know, I guess would you say the biggest progression that happened was you learning that projects like are easier when you can rely on people. Like I'd say that's definitely like our success story.
Delegate.
But also like
So,
open up to having like other people have a say in
yeah,
what goes on.
definitely. I mean, if you compare now to the start of Undertale, like there was no moderators at the start of Undertale. I was
Oh
doing
my
all the
gosh, you're
quality
right.
checks, like everything. And now there's like you and Winter like
Now we have,
quality check
yeah.
the mixing. Mel does the art, Jess does the vocals, and we have moderators.
Yep.
So it's definitely been a chain of, hey, let more people do things, and it will be better.
Yes. Yes, definitely. Yeah. There's yeah. When we say that there was a lot of things that was learned at the beginning of LemonLight, this is what we were
A
talking
lot.
about. There was so much. So
I'm
kind of
surprised it ever even took off.
yeah, for real though. Like kind of in that vein, it's like what are it's like if you were to suggest some things for like people start like what was let me come back to my thoughts. Like what is the process of things that people should do when they're trying to start a project so they don't, I don't know, have a project crash and burn. Like I know what I like to do and it involves kind of the casting and when that comes in, but what's kind of the stuff that you should have all together before you even start casting, because that doesn't come for a
Um,
while.
this is going to be very hypocritical because we haven't done it for indie yet, completely. But I
Ah,
would say make sure you've got everything written and everything prepared before you bring people in.
right.
Um, that I
Yeah.
think that is the biggest thing. That and then don't take on all the work yourself. Or if you phrase it better, just let other people do the things that they're better at than you.
Right. I mean,
If that makes sense.
yeah, and it's like, and trying to find those people. Like, obviously, when
Well, if
Lemon.
they're up for it, don't like
Right.
force work onto somebody that they don't want.
No, definitely. But it's like if you come to someone and be like, "Hey, you obviously know a lot more about this." For the biggest example, I think what the first like sub director role we had, because LemonLight, if I yeah, like you alluded to this, LemonLight works under a system of you are the main director,
Mm-hmm.
and underneath that we have a quality assurance director, and that's Jess.
She's yes,
and
the
and
wonderful Jess.
she does amazing. Jess, that's a new one that we added with Indie, and that Jess
Yes,
checks all vocals, make sure everything is recorded correctly. She like
she does
approves
an incredible
harmonies,
job.
right? She does great. Jess has taken on so much work, and we can't sing her praises enough, and we love her because she's fantastic at what she does. We have an
I
art
hope she's listening
director.
to
Yeah,
this.
it's like Jess, if you listen to this, I love you. Marry me.
you are great.
And then we have an art director, and that's Mel. That's Classicult.
Classical, yeah.
Classicult, but
That was the first
she's Mel. That was
the departmental
and
director.
that's what I'm getting to. Is that was the first
Yeah.
one, and then Winter Melon and I are the mixing directors that just check
Mm-hmm.
quality on all mixes that come up. Um, art director was the first one that got added, and that one was in when we were doing Undertale stuff.
That was at the start of Undertale, yeah.
Yeah, that was at the start of Undertale because obviously, when we started in on this, like I don't have any like artistical talent. I didn't know anything that was going on, and I don't think you did.
Same.
You didn't either at the time. So we were both kind of just trying our best. But you know, we had very talented members of the crew who were like, "I can help check and see what's going on." So that I think definitely helped LemonLight work a lot smoother once we added Like,
Actually, thinking about it now, we had an art director right from the very beginning.
did we? I can't
of Lemon.
remember.
Yeah,
I'm trying
because
to remember when we put it in place.
yeah, it was it was at the start, because when we were advertising on the Man on the Internet community, we had our late friend Mooney volunteer, and she was like, "Hey, I could do some of the art, but I could also be an art approval director thing."
And
So
yeah, Mooney was
Mooney
a Bill
volunteered, and then she was here from the start as art director.
Yep. So a lot of that was, I don't know, it really helped us bring up the quality of visuals, and like, I don't know, it gave a lot of feedback and suggestions. And again, we'll get to that when we talk about art down the line. We'll bring on a bunch of our artists and bring on.
But I think that was like the roots of, hey, if we have an art director, why can't we have a mixing director, which was added in Night in the Woods, I think.
I think that was there. Extension
to, why can't we have a vocal director, even though it's probably the biggest job, or the job with the most work.
Yeah, well, because before we had Jess on it, you were just kind of checking it, or like kind of sort of
going through and making sure there were no glaring issues, like no microphone clicks, and
but mostly it was
problems.
Just left to be like, well, just let the mixers handle it. So which we definitely did, but on like, as a mixer, it helps me so much to have Jess go in and be like, okay, let's get this right from the beginning, which is really helpful. But yeah, no, that's just LemonLight is really well organized, and I think a lot of it, I mean, we got a lot of advice at the very beginning on how to kind of set it up, and how things are really good to be organized, but obviously we've had a lot of crash courses in figuring out how to get there. So now, as the one who has had 4 years of experience, what sort of advice would you give to organization to someone who's wanting to start up their own project? Like, is there like I don't know, programs you would suggest? Like, what do we use to organize a bunch of people, and or data, because there's obviously a lot of like files and information that happens in an online project like this. So
I'm very bad at using other apps to organize a project. So I would on an objective level, I would recommend things like, I can't remember the names of the projects, of the apps now, but I don't even use those.
There's like FreeCamp.
FreeCamp, yeah.
Trello are ones, yeah.
Trello, yeah. I would recommend those if you can use them, but I don't actually use those. I like to do everything in Discord, so we have like weekly reminder pings that I organize, like to ping people. Hey, remember this is due in a maximum of 4 weeks, and then it changes every week, and it's removed when it's done. We have like separate subfolders for things in the Discord, so vocals and art and mixing and editing and projects and stuff like that. So I guess the point I'm making is, you can do a lot in Discord for organization wise, as long as you use it effectively. And for storage and for data files and stuff, I would absolutely recommend, not Google Drive specifically, necessarily, but like things like Google Drive, so OneDrive and things like that.
Dropbox.
Things that you can.
I don't know. I'm not a fan of Dropbox.
I think Dropbox works like that.
But it is things that you file sharing.
Yeah, things that you can have like you can organize, have folders in, but also that other people can upload to.
Yes.
So for our Google Drive folder, we had one for Undertale Genocide and one for Night in the Woods, one for the indie collection, and within there's like lyrics and scratch tracks and harmonies where necessary, and like documents like the art prompts and the schedule and things like that. So the two most useful tools you could have when organizing a project, in my opinion, are Discord, if used effectively, and a file sharing service that everyone can contribute to. Right.
And I don't know. I a lot of it comes down to you yourself as a person are very on top of it. Like, I am terrible at reminding.
I'm an organized person.
You're a very organized person, and I'm very terrible at like. I would not remember to ping people on the weekly. Like, how do?
I have a reminder on my phone.
Do you have a reminder on your phone? I was like, how do you do that? Because I don't remember to do that like at all.
Yeah, no, I have a reminder on my phone for everything because I don't have a good memory. I just have a good phone.
That's, that's fair. But it's like, yeah, like you said on, I think the LemonLight server, I use the LemonLight server on Discord that we have as basically a template for whenever I'm trying to put together a project, where it's like, okay, here's my
You're
section.
very welcome.
It honestly, it's the smartest way I've seen it, and every time I join a project, I'm like, I wish it could be more like this, because
it also lets you separate off like the social side, which some people
yes,
fair enough don't come here for,
yeah,
and the work side as
but
well.
it's like I appreciate that it's like in LemonLight, it's not, it's not just a work thing as well. Like it allows people to get in and like enjoy what they're doing and being in here, but it still keeps things organized because they're in two separate
Make it an experience
sections.
rather than a project.
Yeah, and like I've certainly made so many friends and like just, I don't know, made friends and lifelong networking opportunities that I wouldn't have had before, and met really talented people.
But either way, Discord is a very useful tool for this kind of thing.
Yeah,
I don't think any other chat things would work. Skype wouldn't work. TeamSpeak.
No, I mean
probably not. So I would say Discord
specifically. I've used a lot of like Microsoft Teams for like school stuff, like college, and I wasn't a huge fan. But I have heard like Slack is like.
I haven't heard of Slack.
I've heard that Slack is basically just Discord, but for like corporate world, like a lot of like professional like job places.
So it's the LinkedIn of Discord.
Yes, I guess. I don't know. So it's just, the more I think about it, it's like the more interesting it is to me that like project management as a job. I took a class on project management for my degree, and all the time I was sitting there I was like, yeah, this is all stuff I know. I've done this before. Like I know what I'm doing. And like a big thing they talked about was like your scope of your project, and you should know like this is like the dimensions of my project, like this is what the goal is, like this is what I want the final project to be. And sometimes that has to change and sometimes it doesn't. We've definitely had some instances in LemonLight where the scope of the project has changed. Probably, I think actually on the two projects we finished, neither of them have looked like what we intended the final like result to look like. How do you go about just being like flexible with that, or like how did that come about with Undertale and then Night in the Woods, if we want to talk about that a little bit?
Well, with Undertale, the scope didn't really change during production. It was when we came to the end, and I was like, I'm very happy with the songs. The combined thing of I'm very happy with the songs, and I don't have the mental energy to do the rest of the musical.
Right.
But for Night in the Woods,
I know it's yeah,
I'm not really sure what to say about Night in the Woods. I think the biggest scope change was the focus on quality through Night in the Woods.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
We started and we went into Night in the Woods, and we were going to do kind of like a full scenes throughout, that switched to dubs at the very end. Like what, I don't know, was it hard to let go of like the full thing, or was it just a or
if I'm perfectly honest, it was a relief.
Yeah, that's fair. We are notorious for, I guess, getting a scope of a project biting off more than we can chew. But I mean, I guess we're not, because with indie we're not doing that.
I mean, I guess that's the thing. My brain works better with like short-term projects. And in the sense of Undertale Night in the Woods, they weren't short-term, but the individual songs were. But when you had the full musical, that was one big ultimate project, and so was Night in the Woods. That's why I think another reason why we switched to indie as well, because it's lots of separate little projects under one banner.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, your mind works better when it's given like small, short bursts of like, you did a thing, good job. You did a thing, good job. You did, I mean, and so you can do a lot of that to kind of like feed yourself along in a project by like having smaller releases, especially in musicals. Like we go through, I'd say like every song that comes out is like there's a cycle. Like every song you have recording, like like mixing, art, like video editing, it goes out, and then you just repeat that for all of the songs. So it's like every song that comes out feels like an accomplishment, even though you're working towards the bigger goal of like having the whole thing be done. It gives you the little like bursts of serotonin.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Your brain sees it as several individual little projects.
Yeah.
Kind of. But the whole big video was just one big video that you had to work on. So with Undertale, we had the big plan for the whole thing. So we had to work on like the ruins, and then Snowdon, and then Waterfall, and then Hotland, and then New Home. But that was all one video. That's why I think we preferred it with the dubs of Night in the Woods as well, because you could still separate them off like, hey, that bit's done. Now that bit's done. Now that bit's done.
Right. I just had another thought and a question that kind of veers us off of it. We
Feel free.
At LemonLight, before we did the indie collection, we didn't release things in chronological order, which I don't think about that now, because I'm like, yeah, that's just how we did it, that's just what we did, like, but it's kind of strange to think about at the same time. Like, I mean, and I say obviously, I think a lot of the initial inspiration for that was because Undertale the Musical, Man on the Internet's Undertale the Musical, also didn't do things in chronological order, and I think we just not copied, but basically, like, was there any other thought process behind that? Because I'm pretty sure there was actually. Was there?
Yeah. So if you release in order, and I've seen this happen in projects that have
that's right, yeah,
failed and crashed and burned. If you release in order, then you release song 1, song 2, song 3, and then there's a big delay with song 4. If you're releasing in order, you have to release song 4 before you can release 5, 6, and 7.
That's true.
But
yeah,
if you're working out of order, you can release song 1, and then song 25, and then song 4, and then song like 7. And if there's still a delay with song 4, you can just push that forward and release song 17 instead.
Right. No, I totally forgot about it. It's like, it makes sense.
Especially with Undertale.
Yeah.
Especially with Undertale, like songs 1 to 8 or 9, I can't remember the numbers exactly, were like very tutorial focused.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense with Undertale being a game where you like meet a character, spend a group of like a chunk of time with the character, meet a new set of characters, spend a good chunk of time with those characters, and then they're just like not seen again until the very end. So like, you don't want your actor kind of just sitting around with nothing to do.
But I mean,
like,
for Night in the Woods, I know it's less so, but I think we just did it that way because of the schedule thing, and because that was just how we did it.
Yeah, that makes sense. But I guess, so then switching to indie and having everything be in chronological, was that just a case of they were shorter, smaller, like, groups of songs, so we felt we could just, release them in chronological order like that a little better?
Well, there's the maximum songs per package is 5. So, if there is a big delay with one of them and you need to, you can move all the 5 songs forward, and like you'd probably take like a month's delay maximum, but you can move a package like forward.
Right, yeah.
So you can move a whole package in terms of the schedule and do it that way.
Which we reserve the right to do so, as we are.
Yes.
as we are, of course, sitting in. When this one will come out, we'll be in the middle of a hiatus between.
Well, separate, like, mini kind of thing.
Just like a mini little break, which happens as well. What I know, when we started Undertale, we were really scared of taking breaks. Like, what would you, I don't know, recommend that? Or like, I don't know. What's the process behind like taking a break or a hiatus? How do you do it successfully? How do you not do it successfully, I guess?
When it came to Undertale, we did it because of... Did we take a hiatus during Undertale, or am I thinking of Night in the Woods?
I feel like we took one during Undertale, but I honestly, I don't remember right now. I feel like we did.
We definitely did for Night in the... Let's assume we did for both, because the reasons will be the same, I think. It got to a point of things started to be rushed.
Yep.
To be able to be put out on time, and I think if you get to a point where you start rushing things, that is when you should look at yourself, you look at your project, and think, and realize, oh, there's something you should change here.
Yeah.
I would recommend scheduling breaks. So for the indie collection, for example, I have actually just blocked off the month of December because that's holidays and people are
Yep.
away from setups and stuff. I've blocked off the month of December for indie releases,
Mm-hmm.
but that will be covered by Christmas / holiday
Content.
content,
Yeah.
hopefully. But I would recommend scheduling a break. It doesn't necessarily have to be in December, but I would recommend scheduling them along
Right.
the way.
And the other important thing is before you even, and this is kind of from a director project management standpoint, is before you ever start releasing anything, that you have like a good backlog, which
I
I
would
think is
recommend,
something we
if you're
learned.
releasing weekly,
Mm-hmm.
like we used to,
Ugh.
I would recommend a solid backlog of 4 videos plus the one you're going to upload.
So like a month be like, so you have a
A
month of
month, yeah.
content. Yeah.
So if one of them gets delayed, you have a whole month to make another one.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't think then, unless it's a big slung, for example, like Astral Alley, but then you have a month to make one without having it rushed. I think.
Yeah, no, it definitely is helpful and helps the production feel less rushed. And like you said, it makes the quality better when you don't have to rush for it. Um
Yeah.
I mean, obviously your upload or the upload schedule changed because for like Undertale stuff we were doing, we were doing weekly releases because that's what the YouTube algorithm wants. The YouTube algorithm is like, you must put out a video like once a week for things to be good, and like all of the other creative channels are like, that's way too much. But so like
Yeah.
the switch to kind of every 2 weeks that we're doing now, was that just kind of give it more of a buffer so we could just continue to work on stuff at a little more
It just
quality.
helps a lot.
Mm-hmm. I mean, and
Because
yeah,
because then if say you're releasing weekly and then you change it to bi-weekly, that doubles your project work time, but the
mm-hmm.
number of songs stay the same, so it doubles the amount of time you have to work on the songs, and it does mess up the algorithm a little bit with YouTube.
Right.
But we weren't really getting that many views on Night in the Woods anyway because
true.
it's not Undertale.
Yeah,
So
that's how it do.
yeah, so rather than prioritize the numbers, which I think no creator should ever do unless it's their full-time job and they're relying on the money for like survival.
Right.
But rather than relying on the numbers, we were just relying on prioritizing quality and comfort in working.
Yeah.
And I think the 2-week gaps between releases helps that a lot.
Yeah. No, I definitely like in my own on times in my own channel when I've had a consistent release schedule, which I haven't for ages now. It's like I think most people watching prefer consistency over frequency. Like they prefer quality over quantity and consistency over frequency. Where like
Yeah,
I
I'd agree.
don't care if you're like putting things out every 2 weeks instead of every 1 week. Like I'd much rather someone put out something every 2 weeks consistently, or even like once a month if it's consistent, rather than like, okay, I'm going to do a spurt of like once a week for like, oh, but then I have to stop after 3 weeks because that's really hard. And then I'll take like a month and a half to make new videos. And then I go every week for like a summer and then I have to stop again. Like I'd much rather a consistent upload schedule.
That's what you did with One Shot. The One Shot dub, you did it the end of every month. The end of every month.
Yep, it was I tried to do the last Saturday of every month because I knew that these were big like 20 to 30 minute like dub episodes that were going to come out, and I was like, I'll give myself a month to work on it, and I'll just put it out at the end of the month because I couldn't do any more than that.
So yeah, I agree. I think consistency, as long as you do like. You have a release schedule that the audience knows about, so our audience knows that we do it every 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And we have a nice little group of people who gather to watch the premieres, and it's really nice. And we see familiar names in the comments and stuff. But if you have a release schedule that's consistent and that your audience knows about, I think that is better than releasing like twice a day for pretty much any type of content, I think, apart from maybe like Let's Plays and stuff.
Yeah, no, Let's Plays are like a different beast, but yeah,
that's why YouTube Gaming is a separate site at this point.
Yeah, basically. I mean, it's for what we do, and if you're like looking to start something like this, like I mean, once a week would be awesome, but like you don't want to kill your crew. Your crew will not thank you.
Especially if you're working on volunteer as well.
Oh, exactly.
Like LemonLight is.
It would be really nice if we at LemonLight were just making like gobs of money so we could pay all these really talented people, because like they do so much hard work and they deserve it. But like pretty much everyone here at LemonLight is doing stuff, volunteer, doing stuff for free because they like to do it, and like that's, I don't know, really awesome of everyone.
That's why I like to prioritize the crew, like
Yep.
their comfort, and make sure people aren't burnt out as much as possible. So that's why we did the 2-week gap, I think, because it just gives people a lot more time to work on things.
Yeah, prioritizing your crew is important because they're what make you successful. So.
Yeah, and if like a release, if like a mix is not mixed yet and it's coming close to release, rather than push and pressure the mixer to get it done quickly, I would rather just delay the video by a week.
Yeah, or see if like other people can help on it, which is as we'll go through and as we'll look at other things, kind of in every aspect of creation. There's a lot of people that are willing to step in and do part work on stuff. Like we have a lot of artwork that has like 2 to 3 artists that produce like one piece of art and mixes that same way. So that a lot of that is to help, again, prioritizing the crew and their work schedules and their workloads. So.
Yeah.
Okay. I think we should probably just about wrap this up, but I'll hand it back to you one more time. If there's like anything else that you can think that you would want to tell, I don't know, if you're going back and telling 16-year-old Jay who's starting a project, like here's the advice you would give him to be different.
I would tell him that he is gay and he should realize it sooner. But apart from that, I would say the very bottom line of making a project and organization and just basically content creation in general, if you're working with a crew, is make sure everything is available in like multiple places. So like in this LemonLight Discord server, for example, we have like the schedule pinned in the assignments channels and an important files like channel, and in like work discussion, which is our like work channel. So I think the very bottom line is make sure if you're working with lots of people, your project is organized and very easily accessible to them, so things can be found a lot easier by anybody that needs it. Yeah, no,
it definitely helps to know where things are so that everyone knows what they need to do. Well, all right. Thank you for talking about this. We will see you next time with the next episode of the LLP podcast, or the LemonLight podcast, where we will be talking about writing, specifically lyrics or just creating of scripts and songs. So we will see you guys,
and we will have a special guest. Maybe, I don't know. We haven't thought that far ahead yet.
We'll have a special guest. It will be my sleep paralysis demon.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll see you on the next one.